So journeys are a funny thing, because if you had ever said that Brian Bosworth would be speaking at a men's gathering 10 years ago, 15 years ago, I'd have said, you've got me in a mental institution, because there is no way that I would ever utter the word God or Jesus Christ, because it's not that I did not know him. I was very well aware of him. And I had relationship issues because I had a father that didn't give me the kind of things that a father should give to a son. So I just mimicked and modeled my behavior from what I saw. And I had 3 men in my life that really impacted my life in whatever way they may be. Some would say positive, some would say neutral, some would say inspirational. My grandfather, to me, was an inspirational influence into my life. My father was there, and I want to say that he was neutral, but in certain regards, I want to say that he was negative. But he also showed me what not to do had I ever got the opportunity to be asked the question, do you want to be saved? Do you want to have a relationship? Because I didn't understand what a relationship really was. I didn't understand what it means to have a true relationship. Knowing is one thing, but having a relationship, something completely different. I think we take the word relationship for granted in so many ways, shapes, and forms. And then I had another gentleman in my life that was probably my favorite person, Coach Barry Switzer, because he instilled something in me that I didn't believe existed. But it's ironic, Coach Switzer is not a believer, but he's a believer of man. He's a believer of what is innately inside each and every one of us. He has the ability to reach down inside a young man and his insecurities, his inabilities to believe in himself, to find a place that he only could dream of getting to. But he has all the characteristics that you would think a man of belief would have. He says all the things that a man would hear him saying, oh, he's a believer. But ironically and sadly, he's not. And I'm still working on him. There's many, many of us that are working on him. So I pray one day that I get Coach Switzer upstairs. And I truly believe that there's a reason for that. And I can talk about that in a little bit. But what he's done for me, I can only thank him with every bit of my human being that I can, because of what he allowed me to do, the stage, the presence that he allowed me to hold, and also, the downfall of what ended up happening to me. Then I had one angel in my life. And I think we all have one angel that begins it all. And my angel was my grandmother. So I'll start at the beginning. I'll try to make it concise, because I know I've only got a few minutes. I'm a long-winded guy, and I'll sometimes get off track, so sometimes pull myself back. But I come from a real raw place. I believe, I love my book. My book was my present for my birthday. And I got my birthday present 4 days before I got saved. So it was kind of, wow. I don't know what to do with that, but thanks. and I can't even resell it because you put my name on it. So, but I appreciate it. But when I was a young kid, I was a hellion. I mean, I was just the meanest kid going. I had a typhoon, a hurricane, tornado, all of them inside me, and I knew it. I knew that was inside me because I couldn't control myself. I knew the difference between right and wrong. Wrong always felt better than right. So my mother and father that lived in Texas at the time, I was born in Oklahoma, they had to make a decision when I got to be about 6, 7 years old, 8 years old. We got 2 choices. We can either put him in a mental institution when he's not in school, when summer breaks, or we'll send him to the farm because when we come home from work, we'd like to have a house that's still standing, and we'd like both of our daughters not to be in the hospital, because I used to beat them senselessly because I just had a demon inside me. And that was that aggressive behavior my mother used to tell me when you were a kid. You used to rip the sides of your crib off. We caught you running down the street. I don't know where you were going at 3 years old. Just crazy stories. Of course, I didn't believe her, but now I believe her. I believe her now because I got a chance to look back on my journey. I get to see where it is that I came from. And that's one of the first questions I had to understand. Through this journey, where am I from? Where do I come from? And the other speakers have talked about, the mission in life and who are you? Well, I think the most important thing that we first must understand is where are we from? And we're all born lambs. That's who we are. We're lambs. We just want to please people. We want to please our parents. We want to please our teachers. We want to please our friends. We have to be taught to please God. That's something that's innately in us, but we have to be taught that. But more importantly, we have to be shown that. So one of the things that I found was confusing when I was a kid was my father used to take me to church. It was a Catholic church, so the sermon was the same every Sunday, and I'd sleep through most of it. I never understood, why don't they mix it up a little bit? Same thing. I mean, at the end of it was just like, can I just get the little cracker and go home? So never had any discussions about the relationship and didn't have that conversation with my father. So I didn't understand why we're going to church. I don't get it, and the words are the words. And Catholics talk a lot of words, a lot of these, a lot of thous, a lot of don'ts. But they're just words. And what the responsibility of my father was turn those words into action. And I didn't get that from him. I never saw action. I saw distraction. I saw contradiction. So it was really confusing to me. So during that period of time when I was trying to control this demon inside me, not very successfully, my one outlet was sports. And my sports, I loved it, and it was very competitive. It was a lot like Steve, who just wanted to win everything. I don't care who I was playing against. I just wanted to win. I just wanted to be the best at whatever it was. I was on the field, court, whatever. Because I truly felt that my purpose, that God gift, was my athletic ability. And that's what I was supposed to do. And that's what allowed me to kind of focus that inner energy, that turmoil, that tumultuous behavior that I had. At least I had an outlet to get rid of it. I didn't mind being the class disruptor. I didn't mind being the bully in school. Those didn't bother me at that young age. But when I got to the farm, and I had to listen to my grandfather, who was a strict disciplinarian. He was a working farm, so anything on that farm ended up on our plate. It went out the door. That was what they lived on. It was milk, it was eggs, it was hay, it was vegetables. That's very simple life, very humble life. And I had to work. I understood the work ethic. I knew how hard it was to actually make it in this world. And my father was disabled. He had, had one of them Frankenstein boots. It was one foot was a foot taller than the other because he had his leg broken when he was a kid. So he had to do several jobs. But he wasn't a believer either. So I have a man in my life that was a true Oklahoma fan. And we didn't live that far. The farm wasn't that far from the University of Oklahoma. And here's a man that I really admired, and I really wanted to make him proud and happy. And he asked me one day, do you really love football? I said, yeah, I love football. It's my favorite sport. I get to hit people. And they hit me back, but it doesn't hurt because I love hitting them. And I don't get in trouble for it. As a matter of fact, I get praised to do it. This is awesome. Why don't you go out and I want you to drill him. And then drill him again. And if you get a flag, don't worry about it. Drill them more. So I wanted to make him proud. And he said, I'd love for you to come to the University of Oklahoma. And during those years, it was the heyday for the University of Oklahoma. In the mid-'70s, they won back-to-back national championships. Barry Switzer, to me, was football god. He was the coach that everybody wanted to. He had the Barry Switzer show. And, you know, living in that small little world, that town of Oklahoma and Texas, it was Oklahoma and Texas. That's all there was. All the other colleges were just junior colleges or junior high schools to me. And I'm sorry if it was Baylor, TCU, and all that other stuff represented here, but that's what it was. They were here and everybody else was down here. So I wanted to make him proud. But I also wanted to understand what my crazy grandmother was doing during those days, because at night, we'd work all day during the day on the farm, 4:30 to about 4:30 at night, and then at night my grandfather would go to bed at 6:30. Not much fun there. But my grandmother would be in her room, and we'd play Scrabble, and then at the end, she would talk to herself in the room, and I used to, who are you talking to? What are you doing? Why are you talking to yourself? She's going, saying the rosary, and I'm talking to Jesus Christ. I said, how's that going for you? Because there's nobody in the room. I don't get it. You know, you're from the perspective of a child, you're just trying to understand. I don't get what you're doing, talking to some make-believe person. I thought that kind of went out when you were 3 or 4 years old, when you actually made human friends. But they also lived on a farm, so there weren't many humans around. But she sat me down and she taught me how to say the rosary. You know what came over me was that chaos that was in my life. Peace became that blanket just by being with her in that room. And I felt his presence. And I believed in her. I saw the things, the magic in her eyes and just the demeanor of the way she was. And these are all my personal experiences. This is my journey through my vision. People ask me, what was it like playing football? You can't describe it, because all I can describe is what I see through my face mask. And unless you're inside my face mask, I can't describe it to you. It's just fantastic to me, but you have to interpret it the way you interpret it. So for me, interpreting my grandmother's joy and peace of being in those moments alone with him allowed me to understand that there is something more than just me. And it was, just like Daryl said, it ain't about me. It ain't about, me being the class clown. It ain't about me being, the bully. I'm the toughest kid in 3rd grade, all right. And there's no trophies for that. It wasn't about, I broke the principal's paddle 3 times last year on my butt, and he still got a new one, and a more improved one, and which we should go back to do with some of our kids today.